Hey guys, I've been asked to make a video about this, so I will. And before I do, I just like to say that thank you for everybody who comments on my videos, and I'll try to answer questions the best way I can. And I believe that I can answer a lot of questions when it comes to anabolics in a rational, reasonable way. I've done my research, but I'll just say as a disclaimer that there's a lot better experts out there, although I think that I have a good foundation of things, especially when it comes to human anatomy and physiology, because that is my background. I am a certified health professional here in Canada, and but when it comes to anabolics, that doesn't mean anything. But when it comes to the side effects that anabolics could cause, I know about these, and these are things that I look out for myself, because of especially when it comes down to the heart, which is the whole premise of this question, because that's something that has serious consequences. If you fuck up your heart, it'll drastically decrease the longevity of your life. It's just as simple as that. And anabolics do and can affect your heart health. That is for sure in a few ways. I'm going to name the ones that are most common and ones that are very serious if it ends up going to a pathological level. So the first one that I'm going to mention, which is probably the most common and one that is actually one of the most detrimental, is the thickening of the heart muscle in your, it's called left ventricular hypertrophy. Hypertrophy being just like hypertrophy of the muscles, like getting a pump. You get a severe pump of the left ventricle, which pumps blood out of your heart. Okay? And when this thickening of the heart muscle happens, you think, oh, my heart's getting stronger. It's pumping out blood harder. Yes, but not quite though, because you're not getting the same amount of blood volume as a result that's coming out of your heart. Just to put it simply, this happens with athletes, believe it or not. People who ride their bike like tens of miles every day, and just athletes in general. You get left ventricular hypertrophy to a degree, and it can be kind of reversible, but not really. It's like once the damage is done, it's harder to come back, but it can come back to levels that are more normal. But again, like once you fuck with the heart is something that doesn't repair itself. Muscles in general don't repair themselves too well, but especially the heart muscles. It's a different type of muscle. It's the cardiac muscle. So we have to take that into account. We don't want to damage the heart. We don't want to thicken the left ventricular wall of the heart. And all steroids do this, okay? Just like steroids build muscle in general in the whole body, it'll build your muscle in your heart. So that's why, quite simply, we don't want to go always too hard on steroids. And I heard it takes only 2 years for that to happen. If you did steroids for 2 years, you would get left ventricular hypertrophy to a degree. It might not be the degree that's going to cause heart failure right away, although, it'll carry you with you for the rest of your life, so you might die when you're 65 or 70 as opposed to 80, 85. That's why it's a concern. Okay, so how do we avoid this? Do less steroids. Do only effective doses. Don't blast too hard. And if you do blast, go on and off, like blast cruise cycles. And even doing that, you still might get it. So it's not safe. And for that reason, steroids are not safe. Okay, it's not. But we want to be most safest and effective. So safest and effective is doing steroids at moderate doses to minimize that, to mitigate the risks of things like left ventricular hypertrophy. So that's all I want to comment on that pathology. I will address the other common one, which is a lot of steroids, not all of them, but a lot of them, cause disimbalance of the HDL and LDL levels, which is the cholesterol in the body. So LDL is the bad one. LDL, always remember, is lousy DL, and HDL is the healthy DL. And so this is cholesterol in the body, and too much LDL causes a number of potential health issues, but the major one that you don't want is arteriosclerosis, which is the plaque buildup in your arteries. The lousy LDL, the LDL, causes plaque buildup, hardening of the of different arteries in your body, and then if that continues, what could happen is one of these plaques dislodge, causes like a thrombus, and you get a heart attack or stroke. So that's no good. There's also just having disimbalance of like LDL and HDL levels can cause some other health issues, too much negative cholesterol. But yeah, the major one is if you did steroids for 25 plus years and having negative LDL levels, your chance of stroke or heart attack is high. So that's no good. So what do we do to prevent that? We get your blood work done. Make sure your LDL, HDL levels are fine. And also, again, everything comes down to, again, doing minimal amounts. Like we're not going to do high amounts of steroids that could cause this. There are steroids that can cause it more than others. For example, Mastron and Nandrolone, I believe, can cause LDL levels and unhealthy levels, and potentially so does testosterone. I heard ones like Equipoise don't as much, although everyone I think does to an extent. But I wouldn't pick steroids based on that. I would just make sure that, based on your blood work, you're fine, and then titrate up or down your doses to make sure that they're okay, if that makes sense. Okay. So, to be honest, those are the only two that are off the top of my head that I can think of are a major concern. Now, there might be other ones as well, like fibrosis of the heart, heart arrhythmias, especially if you do some steroids that really affect your central nervous system and the signaling to the heart, because the central nervous system controls all organs. For example, when I do Anavar, notice an increase in heart rate, and but over time, this could cause issues like arrhythmia, which is irregular heartbeat. Eventually, could cause heart failure. But there's a lot of bodybuilders who have had longevity. Although I think what we're going to see in the next 20 years is the era that was the 80s and 90s era of bodybuilders come into to be elderly, essentially 60 years plus, and we're going to see the true consequence of steroids a lot more than what we have seen with, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger's era. Although we have seen some of that, but with the modern paradigm of the modern regime of steroids, I'm going to say 90s onwards. Okay, so the bodybuilders that were really pushing steroid use in the 90s, that's kind of what I consider the modern era of bodybuilding from then on. So with the modern era of bodybuilding, we're going to see modern excessive steroid use, and then with that, we're going to see the long-term effects. Now, the long-term effects are going to manifest themselves like heart conditions and things in later years in life. So just as kind of a naturalistic study, experimental study, we're going to see the effects of that in in this specific population of bodybuilding, I believe, in the near future, if not already. So again, like you can take things, you can prevent this, but you can take things like, especially in older life, cardiograms and heart scans and things like that. Although it's all the effects of steroid use isn't alone just on the heart, it is as well on the liver and kidneys. Things like fatty, non-alcoholic liver disease, that could be an issue due to, again, the LDL, like cholesterol and fat in the blood that gets composed in the liver. That's not good. And there's ultrasounds you can do to see if you have that. What else I say? Maybe thinning of blood vessels. I don't know. Like, there's other things I could get into, but I just want to focus on the major ones. The major one is left ventricular hypertrophy, no doubt, and that's one that I'm concerned about. That's why I'm limiting my steroid dose and monitoring my blood pressure regularly. I have one of those cuffs at the gym where you put your arm in the machine. Do that every time, and to be honest, it is a bit too high than I would like it to. Although I always do it when I walk into the gym, so I feel like always like my blood pressure might be a little higher because I was just walking from my car into the gym, and I wasn't really resting. But nonetheless, it's not good. Like, ideally, you want to be at that 120/80 range. Like, that's the ideal, right, of your blood pressure. If you're at like 150/90 or something like that, it's like, that's not good. Because over time, increased blood pressure, your heart's working overtime. First of all, you kind of feel like shit when you have high blood pressure, like I did when I was blasting too much. I was like, man, you feel like shit. It sucks. And over time, you're gonna have potential issues of the thickening of your heart wall. So that's my response to his video, or his comment. My video response to his comment. Let me know if that answers your question, or if there's anything else you want me to elaborate on. But I think that pretty well covers it. Thank you for your question, and I hope everybody has a great day. Peace.